Yeah,
You
that's
know,
I've
doing
been
it once a month would be a lot.
I've been
uh,
doing a salt and intestinal wash with Epsom salts, and
mhm,
I do it alongside my liver flush.
mhm.
And so, would you use it? Would you ever use Epsom salts?
I've never used Epsom salts, but if it works,
No, it
go
works.
for it. It
it
works. Huh?
it
How
works.
often do you use it?
Well, I've been doing about a year and a half long liver cleanse, which is a liver flush every 6 to 10 weeks. And you do that to clean out the gallbladder and the liver of stones. It's quite a gentle procedure, but you have to keep doing it once you've started until you've done it twice with no stones coming out. So I've been doing that for the past 18 months, not always on time, sometimes a little behind schedule, and so more time will lapse in between the cleanse, but generally every 10 weeks.
So that is an intestinal wash every 10 weeks or so?
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's that sounds okay to me. I think anybody who tries to do it more often, certainly more often than once a month, there's a trade-off really, because when you do an intestinal wash, you're also removing all the natural chemicals and electrolytes from your GI tract, and it takes a while to build that back up again. So there, have you ever noticed like any feeling of a little bit of weakness afterwards or disorientation?
Oh, definitely.
So there's a recovery period that's associated with the intestinal wash.
Yes.
And so there's a trade-off. You get something and you give something up. What you're giving up is, a few hours or maybe even a day of being a little bit out of sorts
Yes.
while things sort of rebalance. But what you're gaining is that cleansing of the whole GI tract,
Mm-hmm.
and you use it for liver and gallbladder. I
Yes.
guess it cleans all of those organs out, doesn't it?
Well, you basically have to make sure that the intestines are completely cleaned out before you do the liver flush, because when the stones come out, you don't want them hanging around.
Right.
You want
Right.
them to be out. You do the salts the night of the liver flush before it. Then you do the liver flush, which is your olive oil and grapefruit juice, and you drink that. And then the next day, after the liver has released and the gallbladder has released all of the stones, you do the Epsom salt. You do the wash again,
I see.
and that way the whole intestines are washed through again in the morning after the flush has been done.
I see. Yeah. So
Yeah.
do you consider that a health measure or a spiritual measure or both?
I think definitely both. Definitely a health measure, without a doubt. I'm fascinated with it. I celebrate it because I think it's such an incredible. It's like having psychic surgery with no knives.
Yes. Yes.
You're going inside of your body and you're taking things out without any pain, with hardly any discomfort at all, and you know that they're stones because they're emerald green, and
Mm-hmm.
they're cholesterol. They're made up of cholesterol, so you know that you're getting the right thing out. So, and it has such a lightening effect on the spirit. You feel purer.
Yes, it sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
It's much better than going along and then one day you find out you need surgery or something like that,
Right.
which
Absolutely.
of course happens a lot. So these techniques are not only very practical from a spiritual standpoint, they're very practical from a healthcare standpoint,
Yes.
preventive healthcare, which we could all use more of.
Yeah. Well, Andreas Moritz has an incredible book called The Liver and Gallbladder Flush, and I interviewed Andreas 3 times on my show about health, different health aspects, and that's where, if anybody is interested in getting more information about this liver flush, his is the most concise, I think, body of information about doing this.
That's Moritz, you say?
Yes, Andreas Moritz. Yogani, because of the time that we have, I think we should jump onto Amaroli.
Okay, this one is both profound and controversial, and in fact, originally I was familiar with Amaroli from many years ago, but I didn't really include it in the lessons because I didn't really want to get people turned off, so to speak.
Uh-huh.
And then somebody wrote me once and said, "Well, why aren't you covering this? It's really an important adjunct to
Yes,
yoga, and
yes.
it's in the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, and it's and there's a whole scripture that's devoted to it, the name of which I don't remember right now. But in any case, I said okay, and I started covering it in the lessons, and people started trying it, and sure enough, it in some cases it had dramatic positive effects, not only on their spiritual progress, but also there's a lot of health benefits from it as well. Urine therapy has been around probably as long as civilized humanity has been around, and in our super cleanly society, we tend to it tends to get swept under the rug. Basically, the basic practice is that we collect an amount of urine in the morning. It doesn't have to be in the morning, but that's a good time to do it. And we consume it. We drink it. Now, there are a lot of ways to approach this to reduce any sort of squeamishness about it. Like, for example, you can take it just a few drops in a glass of water starting out, which a lot of people found is a good way to go, and eventually increase the concentration. This is a daily practice, by the way. And again, from a yogic standpoint, it might be middle stage because it's related to this whole nectar cycle thing and the rise of ecstatic conductivity. Somehow, Amaroli makes your subtle neurobiology more stable and more conductive of spiritual energy.
Now,
I wish I knew how, but it does.
Now, what about what you're eating or drinking? Or if somebody's on pharmaceutical drugs, I heard it wasn't really a good thing to do.
Well, people ask that question, and I think it's a matter of how orthodox you want to be with the practice. I don't think you can be harmed by doing Amaroli if you're on prescription drugs, because we're not obviously collecting all our urine. We're not collecting everything that's being discarded from the body. We're just taking a sample, if you will, and putting it back in the morning. And there are just inestimable numbers of hormones and chemicals in normal urine that many of which seem to have a purpose. And if there's some other impurities in there from a prescription drug, or perhaps from eating a heavy diet with meat or garlic or heavy spices, those would be in there too. So obviously it's better to have a light and nutritious diet, and probably better not to be having powerful prescription drugs. But I don't think that the downside will be greater than the benefits.
When we look at urine, we think, well, the urine is carrying out the toxins from the body. Why would I want to put that back into my body?
Well, the question is whether urine is all toxins.
I'm sure it's not. I'm sure it's got a lot of the good stuff too, nutrients.
The assumption is that the urine is all toxins, but it's certainly not toxic to plants. It's not toxic to life, because the nitrogen that's in there is an essential component of the cycle of life on this planet. And I'm not saying it's the nitrogen that we need. But there are obviously other things in there that have some benefit. Amaroli there are some people who have written books on Amaroli or urine therapy where they claim all kinds of diseases have been cured, everything from cancer to hemorrhoids,
Yes.
And lots of case studies, lots of research over the years. That's not really what I've been in it for, and it's not really a main focus in AYP. In AYP, what we're looking to do is supplement our yoga practices at the right times according to our own perception of needs with rising inner silence, so that we can continue forward in the most efficient manner. And that's what Amaroli is in AYP, and that's what it is in yoga too. Although if you read some of those ancient scriptures, they tout Amaroli as curing all diseases too.
Really?
So you get one with the other. In yoga, you get good health and enlightenment at the same time. That's really what it boils down to. A pure body is a healthy body, right?
Yes.